They convicted Daniel Reyes of murder in 1994. Then, 22 years later, a lab technician pulled a sealed manila envelope off a warehouse shelf, a rape kit nobody had ever tested, and inside it sat epithelial cells carrying a DNA profile that matched no one who ever sat in that courtroom. So why does the man serving life without parole share nothing, genetically, with the killer his own trial called proven? Here's what the jury was told. On the night of March 3, 1994, 26-year-old Marisol Vega was found dead in her apartment on East Fig Street. Reyes, her ex-boyfriend, had a documented history of jealousy. 3 witnesses placed him near the building around midnight. No physical evidence tied him to the scene. No fingerprints. No forced entry. The prosecution built the case on eyewitness proximity and motive alone. The jury took 4 hours. He got life without parole. The file was stamped closed, boxed, and shipped to storage case number 94311, where it sat, untouched, for over 2 decades. The envelope that surfaced in 2016 wasn't part of the original evidence log. It was a rape kit, Safe Kit 7712, collected the night of the murder by the responding nurse, but never logged into the property division's tracking system. It sat in a different building entirely, in an overflow unit the department used for unprocessed backlog. When a state grant funded a cold case DNA initiative, a clerk cross-referencing old case numbers found it by accident. The kit had never been opened. The seal was still intact, dated, initialed, unbroken. Inside, biological material recovered directly from the victim's body. Material the original detectives either missed or chose not to submit. When it was finally run through CODIS, the profile matched none of the DNA samples collected from Reyes at booking. That alone should have been a footnote. Defense attorneys argue absence of DNA all the time. But this wasn't absence. This was presence. A full male profile, foreign to Reyes, recovered from the one piece of physical evidence closest to the crime itself. The trial record, the one the jury deliberated over, contains 0 mention of this kit. It doesn't appear in the property log submitted to the defense. It doesn't appear in the criminalist's testimony. As far as the 1994 courtroom was concerned, this evidence did not exist. So why was it never disclosed? The answer sits in a property transfer memo dated March 9, 1994, 6 days after the murder, authorizing the kit's relocation to an auxiliary evidence annex, pending a lab backlog that, according to internal department records, ran 18 months deep that year. The annex wasn't subject to the same discovery audits as the primary evidence room. Defense counsel requested all forensic evidence related to case 94311, a request the department's own paperwork shows was answered using only the primary room's inventory. The annex was never searched, not because someone hid it. Because on paper it was procedurally invisible, but the annex wasn't the strangest part. Buried in the same overflow unit was a second item, a latent fingerprint card lifted from the apartment's rear window frame, logged the same week, also never matched against Reyes. That print sat unexamined for 22 years too, until 2016, when it was run for the first time and returned a hit. Not to Reyes. To a man named Colton Barrett, a maintenance worker who'd serviced the building's plumbing 11 days before the murder and was interviewed once briefly and never followed up on. 2 pieces of evidence, 2 decades apart in storage, both pointing away from the man convicted and both pointing, independently, toward the same name. If Reyes didn't leave the DNA and didn't leave the print, the conviction doesn't just weaken, it loses its physical foundation entirely. The eyewitnesses who placed him near the building that night were never asked whether they saw a maintenance van. The original detectives who logged the kit's transfer to the annex are both retired. One has since died. No one has ever explained under oath why a rape kit and a fingerprint card sat 12 feet from the primary evidence room for 22 years without being cross-referenced to a suspect the department already had in its own interview files. Reyes remains in custody. His appeal, filed in 2018, is still working through post-conviction review. Colton Barrett has never been charged. The question the case file still can't answer isn't just who left that DNA behind. It's how a department that logged, sealed, and dated the evidence correctly still managed to never look at it for 22 years.